Deep among the mountains of Sichuan province, the peaks are covered in snow all year round. In this precipitous terrain, the rivers remain alive, pouring torrentially through the deep valleys. This is a place where childhood dreams come true, where imagination becomes reality, and where, with time, pure belief can bring rich rewards. Here, close your eyes and listen to the world around you. Then open your eyes to see before you a vision of a mystic land, Shambhala.
Kakanganga Chachanjanya Tatandana Papawama Tata Zawa Jazaya Ralashasaha Tadi chunya machatiga yongso. Years.
영주 빠만 있어요.
Bama.
그러면 집도.
Oh. Techu maningar mandatimi donomnya.
대체 그러니까 뭐 그거.
Chagna. Mata sorngun kir ngamam sorngun de nistong samgalo tani sorngun taga ta kanang amachaga sacha tani golok tani yunan dechin tani khamshog thasa samonga da song lonu monga da kangang ka ta harchil nangamaga lonu jejja da kangani.
Chiringdan finds inspiration in the sounds he's heard. Children's voices, pilgrims chanting, even the wind in the valley. Chiringdan is a member of the Shambhala Folk Music Preservation Association. He devotes much of his time to making recordings of authentic Tibetan folk music, and he hopes to one day share the legacy with later generations.
Stazogon somnyunga tejazaka amati rjenganga stimphonga jaga sonnote jagar kananga samnoda nyima todina nyangkhani darki khwechida deino ngarka tawarinara thopchet yecho to jagar thopchaz janangal homma te narayo onnang yang shiwa da taso thopchedei Chaka chun
Kamazia.
chuta rza zogza soni
Zogza soni.
are
Chaga zogyun rere.
are
야야야 다속 잔토고
다 지금 따간데 점나래 들루 그 가세 좀 시나 루 접대도 접제 아르마니 때 천런르 그 얼라떨 아지저 갈리토 얼 나 가위 가르통 그 치라즈 닐 티나요 다한지 안여잡도 지마이 가서 달라접래 아무슨 루시모톰 스타라 헬라라 구야 라주다리로스 Sola lorta vina la chizres. No as stewani que nes mecher echitsiyuna nyangata le me samsaka manikar dutia. Ate ngartina yo ta kalunam sandras reti ngala dinone tu sab tum chok oma osmeta. Shaitangi ka ruron de rotan chena chi garge rea chelgore khota garge rele permanent te chi din kesignat din guna nganum cho oma os na chmet dali te tras no as chewani ke te chire chituna te chi amu sab ka rogo sam rachina tras sab tarha
야 간나 같이 오고 야셔 찾았더니 녹자더니 뉴거다 나 같이 그리야 같이 샵고 노래 응 저거 원저거 응 저거 아 찾다가 나라 저거 저거 나 땅을 찍고 타 이렇게 남 잡고 남 잡고 저거 지차 강한 저 삼절이요 셔득 쇼컨다 런던다 만영아 원영아 탐 딱딱 지창업도 지선서 만영아 뭐 찾게 지진영아 러시르드는 뭐 만영아 체랑 단 다시는 말도 그 자양 특인 적 나타나 요그 지차가 홀랑날 홉자된 저거디 오 the carpets on dividend 조서를 오는데 조청디나 나로 지차는 가로 기체오서리 마랑감 촌나 인직팅 감더니 로르모는 카우다 왔어 가르테 로르모메 손나 카우메 손나다 만촌나 지그리
Once that getting to the lady, go on Mukatan a tap on the Mari, that and getting a young person, that getting the truth and a thousand low is a little that Targol is in the Tatar Passat.
Treating a patient with a red-hot iron rod is a common practice in traditional Tibetan medicine. The technique is sometimes even used in first aid.
Nina Cardon Mar. Tani Talo Niger, the summer magic Tunita Lo. Some resandrele.
아치 까르는 만디냐 체치치세.
누구는
좀 너무
그래야지. 그래야 지가 되래.
체스가 판니. 맞아 근데 저.
그럼 한 손으로 너무 기담 길고 나빠. 너무 근데
거기를 살아서는 끼는 동네를 쳐봐 쳐봐네
너기 치기로 착착 때 근데 좀
제 차지 대 차지 쳐봐라 그렇게 공부서 살아서 지통서 동네를 내 임바면은 동쳐 내 임바에는 동패마
다때 도마 다때다 망코는 일러렌다 zonti 다 semna 다 판 그 태좀지요래 태좀지디 다 yerging tani mara da thonshi matanda yore tanda tona panri thotanda ina da na pa mo potong da pan to yichina to mo panu hidi da yichina yotarang sema.
People living in the harsh environment on the Tibetan plateau have always faced a battle for survival. They have learned to use the local plants and rocks to treat illnesses. Tibetan medicine has a history of over 1,000 years. The Tibetans view human life as part of nature. So in treating illnesses and disease, they make use of natural elements.
So the permanent of the 파체쇼 몽체쇼 때 가나르조세 드릉고는 마타 드르존에 힘이 땀이 도미 짬이 다 드르존에 다만다게 디 사대 그거 보통지 때 마짬이 많이 여 말때
달로 니응나 다니 파르겐 다코 직나이다 다 셀린디 손데 데니 다 나이 다 연종포레도 사마 지게즈 나이다 데니 나티 캡테 쿠시기 다나노 히다 존타가 쳇손데 존타가 톤 디만콘 아탄 만바탄 쿰 쇼 사마 데니 마라손티타 ngo마트 근다탄다 코 다탄다 셀린디 손스 다 마센데 치다 요파 체슈데리.
Many young people are now taking the opportunity to study traditional Tibetan medicine. They're encouraged to do so by support from the government and a growing interest in traditional values. They combine what they learn with a knowledge of modern medicine. Dolma is one of them.
다 man jona nyejamba pantaksare. 데이터기나 랑시기다 역보다 히티마르다라 미히지다 드사마랑 소나터 만코다 시기다 자탁즈 용주 때려와 침보요.
This is Dolma's hometown, Mewa in Hongyuan County. In anticipation of her imminent graduation, the villagers have prepared a small clinic where Dolma can practice medicine. This clinic is where she will treat her very first patients.
고리기 있는 dag 나 있는 dag 다 대사마다야 나빠서나 다시 그만큼 왔을 피때나 다시 정말 요사진 인사리다 나빠득사 만반득사 또 아시도 사대잖아 예 어디다 샤브잖아 아니 득사나 어디냐까
이 옛날에 그 총치르좀 아무 고고제주 떠나쳐온지 야라 공인다 나 레버들이 저기 니기는 안 줘고 이날 개모들이 역성한테 베인들이 이 도움이 저기 라브드인도에 던팀들이
잠깐만 같이 어때요 커요 아치 아까 살때면 얼고 그다른 것 오야 تنيتا من ليركا مانك ليركا لينا ليركا يقبولي جنب ذا بنتقو تن تتسوري تنك تا من بزنا تا 다잔 소인들이 다니자 판톡고 그런 거 롱리장 까치르즈 다테 세마잔 길게 역보 담 워크만 바 역슈리 다시요
When Jie Yang first saw photographs printed on rice paper, it gave him an idea. He would print his own photographs on the same medium. And furthermore, he would produce this paper himself. He saw it as his way of combining tradition and modernity.
So Berlin baz. Da dang sang dan zi ge Berlin ju nang dong so da wok rigni ge nang ni zi so jin rigni di nang ni da dang sang ji nyam do ni nyam jo ning khai yo ni da so dir korean Berlin ji khan da cha ge wo dan chon na da ha jang ge zi ni ni
Telekohle tina ajori jotel ta cheshi de cheleri se sana benim bokum mazat ya tani kitana ni mazat se.
He wants to make traditional Yi paper using traditional techniques, so he seeks expert advice.
난 더 제주지어라. 너 너가 시기라. 너 찍 봐라. 너?
안돼 또 저는 누가 찍바래 인글래. 안돼 카카래 인글래. 안돼 소 찍바래 인글래.
너니 찍 봐래.
안돼 소.
주장 걸리네.
네.
라차?
라차 질레 대디 열리디. 달로 용다 인글래 로. 로소 순타리 인글래.
로섬.
너
남리네. 로섬 그는 남리네.
안돼 레와 로소 타리 요 카카래.
He eventually secures the help of an elderly papermaker, and she will teach him everything. Starting with how to make the tools, step by step, he'll learn the whole process of making the paper traditionally. The wolfsbane root used in papermaking must be gathered during the brief summer season. The tools he needs, ranging from a heavy stone mortar to a wooden pestle, have to be collected from different places. This requires a journey of nearly 1,000 kilometers.
다 리제 거디 진다zen 츠고 다 리제 거사와 자위 나니 나냥 링고고 더그 흠박 링고고 흠박 렌주도 인다만다 접고 팀토니 동고고 동시간에 따라 시고고 다 시적은 주고고 다 주차르는 양 동고고 더그 동시가 팀토니 들이 조그는 아 찍고고 다디 저름도 가상 인다만다 점모즈고고
With the help of the elderly expert, he produces his very first sheet of traditional paper. The quality will only be evident after it's been dried in the sun. His first try is declared a success, but he thinks there's room for improvement. His choice of raw materials could be better, and he would benefit from more experience. He is very keen to improve so that the paper he uses does justice to the subjects of his photographs.
park nangni rigi chatsi har chir wok shogol ndi da kar ka nang don da wok shogol ndoga da da wok shogol ge chanda da zig to to da har chir kam goti shoga ga jir sam ngai na ta ta to
Honeyberries are a new crop that is now developed in some countries outside of China. Today was the first time that I was cutting them in vitro. I just introduced them into tissue culture. I cut it in 2 small pieces that we cut again and again until we have thousands. The very beginning going to China, I always looked for the Cypripediums in the wild, and that I trained myself to find them. I need this for the herbarium.
还没带工具。
然后他就把它直接给扯下来。
How I came to China, I'm actually really a son-in-law of China, to say so. I came here not because I had an agenda to be here to do something. I just came here to look for some plants, to see them in nature, and in the end I stayed here now already for 16 years. From the Himalayas here into China with the Huangdong mountain system, you have these deep valleys where you have orchids or plants in general that grow under warm conditions, subtropical. And just a few kilometers up, you have plants that grow like on the North Pole or near the Arctic Circle, very cold, just at the very borderline of plant life, and everything in between. So you have many plant formations that you can. That's a very fascinating thing for a plant ecologist, but in general for anybody who likes nature. In other countries, you have to drive for many hours to see the differences, and here you can see it in a day's walk, these different ecosystems and plant formations. And I always liked Huanglong after the first time I came there. Very fascinating. China is the cradle of the genus Cypripedium. They probably mostly evolved here, most of the species we have today. You see a little bit bamboo here, and sometimes there are traces that the lesser panda eats them. So we're here in the habitat of the lesser panda.
In 2001, Dr. Holger Perner, an internationally renowned botanist, was hired as a senior consultant by the Huanglong National Nature Reserve.
I got introduced to them when I was a little boy by my teacher. He showed me a book once. I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and in this book was a slipper orchid, and I thought, wow! And I wanted to see these slipper orchids, but in North Germany, outside of Hamburg, where I grew up, we don't have any slipper orchids. This plant here is very important to me because 14 years ago I published it as a new species, Cypripedium sichuanense. This species is adapted to grow here in this environment in the mountains of Sichuan. If you remove it and plant it into a garden, it usually dies. That doesn't stop illegal poaching, and we have to come up with new methods to protect the plant. I hope we can achieve this, and we will have this plant here safe for the future.
When this variety of orchid was first discovered, it was named the Sichuan Blue Spoon.
And that was a childhood dream to see the slipper orchid with black spots. I just imagined it, but here in China they are reality. So that was a big thing for me. We work in Huanglong, and we have to conserve the nature and the plants, but we also have to help the people that live there, because these people, they are living under difficult circumstances. For mountain plants it's perfect, but for people it's high, cold, small fields, bad soil, very hard to survive.
A few years ago, with Dr. Perner's help, the villagers started growing blueberries. The economic returns have been very good, but in his heart, there is a bigger dream he hopes to accomplish.
My dream is the craneberries in the grassland, and they don't want, the people still cannot imagine that could work, including my wife. Everybody thinks, nah, that...
Well, I'm always supporting you, of course. If you want it, we just push it through.
My childhood dream was working with plants and or animals, and now I try to fulfill my dream by working with plants, and not just doing it in a laboratory with basic research or fundamental research, but I want to have it hands-on, applied, and make it useful, not just for some project, but for people.
但是你那个，如果是有合适的地方看到要种的话，可能还要围一下，不然那个牛啊，不好吃。
你就这，你看嘛。
This is 3,700 now, down there 3,770 meters.
Yes, it's a little bit too high.
Very open. The high mountains are there, and the wind can blow through here. That's my concern in winter.
风大不大？冬天？
风啊，风不很大，还是有一点。
有点担心的就是风。如果是在这儿种另外一个，就是一定要记得的，就是可能在这个风大冬天来之前，把它全部浇上水，它要结冰，结了冰过后，它就保护它不遭吹干，吹干了就主要是怕吹干。
哦。
它这个红蔓越莓本身它不怕冷，它喜欢冷，但是它怕吹干。这个你看嘛，这个就叫蔓越莓。
It's very curious. You see so tiny leaves, so tiny plants, but they have large berries. But to be able to carry berries, they have to produce lots of twigs, lots of branches that cover the ground. Then they start to have berries everywhere, and then they can be picked. What they do in America, like a rice field, they keep the plants then underwater, but not at the beginning of the season, but at the end for harvest. This can become the fourth, and maybe later the biggest in the world. The Chinese are very industrious, and here in the areas where the Tibetans have the grassland, that is perfect.
Not so good? Or what did you say there?
I think the place could be very good. I'm just a little bit curious or worried about the winter. That's all. Next year, spring is too early, but if we would check in summer, then I would know more. When I see that they grow and start to cover the ground, then we can be sure that they will be happy here. The cold is no problem, but the dry cold, that's a problem for them. This landscape is...
说你厉害，宝贝儿。二叔说你不厉害，你放暑假的时候直接就来当站主姑娘好了。每 每天早上起来弄奶茶，挤毛牛奶，然后再做点什么什么全奶。
In spring, Dr. Perner returned to inspect the cranberries. However, on his way back, he suffered a heart attack. He passed away on April 19, 2017.
If I had 3 wishes, well, I would like to be a child again, and again and again and again, because childhood, I think, is the best part of life. Now, many things I dreamed of as a child, they came true. As a child, fantasizing and living in a much bigger world and with much more time. A year as a little child is an eternity. It's forever. And now, grown up, a year is nothing. It's just a small moment. My most important wish would be being a child again.
这道门叫香巴拉之门。我们到现在走到那儿的时候，仍然可以看到它左右两边非常清晰的古的这种城墙和门的遗迹。大家说，从这个门进去以后，你就到了香巴拉，就到了圣地，就到了格聂神山的脚下。
这个阿龙对阿龙那尼龙板的写起，他跟以前不个本着。这个溶洞还是比较大，还是我们这个1是刚刚大，到第10是刚刚大的科学地。
我叫刘璇，我的职业是规划师。
Liu Xuan was involved in the design of the Genyan tourist attraction. It is an area of nearly 2,000 square kilometers, centered on the Genyan mountain. It is densely covered by mountain glaciers, lakes, and waterfalls, as well as Buddhist temples, hot springs, and meadows.
首先，因为我非常爱这里，所以我做了这份工作。
现在我去马家山用阿姨来，就是跟人去看着，听了没就没着意思。你还是来干到那么的概念给他妈是很多意思。帕拉尔卡侬还是你我个得是，还来概念啊，提出我你我个得是，还是来干到那么的工艺的，这个矿嘛给么就是，你个啥个我这个提送些个老么就是。天体上，你要是摸索那的白的白一些吧，你要啥也吃些。你要是来干到你矿嘛就矿嘛我这矿嘛米家面的嘎的东西。
从我做这个工作，我觉得面临的非常大的困难就是保护和开发之间的关系和它相对的冲突，因为在传统的观念里，我们都认为一旦保护就不可以开发，但实际上如果不开发，那么对于当地老百姓，他的经济收入、他的来源、他的生活的改变，其实也是非常难的。
那原来没有游客的时候，他们的驮马就是自己驮自己的东西，但是也没有经济的收益，就是相互驮。但是现在基本上养马还是希望游客这几年来能够做点生意。
对。
这我在看。
难点在于你如何告诉当地的老百姓你不这么做，那除此之外你也必须想到的你如何做。
有该多的话我们想修个房子，来我们想搞一点。我不绕大概我就没绕就1块钱的挣1分钱提成大。几个小时？对，恐怕马上那我买的我写的。他这个工作的话嘛，他只到8层这个就个区。
对吧？然后盛卡呢，就老百姓跟我说的话，几乎把我惊呆了。他说， 家也没什么，就这一栋房子，那我要把我的房子烧了，然后盖个汉房，做旅游接待。我能感觉到他们需要经济的收入，也能感觉到他很迷茫，不知道如何做。但很恐惧的一点是，他不知道怎么做的时候，他已经决定做了。
狗类的东西，狗类的最核心，就这个村子的问题要解决，不解决我们不行。
然后剩下的就是，如果已经住在里面的这些人里，那么这个大概他们家还有没有地方，就是他要做民居接待的。反正我们就还是到时候做个调查吧，因为我看大家好像都想做。
想做，想做，每家每户都想做，就除了就没有条件的，是不是啊？他这样才不干。他们先从嘛，大家看一嘛，哎，财政问题大好，问题好呢，这都嘎嘎的话，当我你跟你旅的7年是啊，都是离开，我当然也没有。他在吃当经营，明年可以人着，从嘛这个国际打开发性了去，确全部开发性的国什么写个就全部都经营嘛的，没是一个错了的，实际统计了去打，这个打击了去打，打击经常进入，第二季所中你的通过个就是等于干通个就是。
其实我的工作是处于一个比较中立的中间位置，那么大家都会眼巴巴地看着你说啊。老百姓经常现在会说到哦，我就等着这个规划楼，我就等着这个规划楼，就是这个语气。当我听到的时候，就是又觉得有一点希望他要等你，又有一点不相信。那也正是因为我自己对这儿的情感，我觉得才给了我非常大的力量和非常大的坚持。其实从上面往下看的时候，这是非常漂亮的，尤其是你家。那如果你把这房子拆了，就没有了。可能我们也需要想一个管理的办法。这样来讲呢，就是说，就不会出现说这个村子赚钱，那个村子不赚钱，对吧？因为我们不能做出来的东西游客不要，那白花钱了，我们赚钱不容易，对吧？
还在想，他有点犹豫。
你犹豫的时候，你就给我打电话。如果不能脚踏实地，不是一个好的规划师。我只能说，你可能做了一份规划，完成了一个工作，但并没有解决问题。
这个马路可能看你各地做个，各地马上可能逻辑是去咕噜了。那这空把路个呢，马路的路么扎去，在马路了，要么扎去到我马家，逻辑是去把哈路了的，但那可是有点行了。哎呀。他过去嘛的，哎呀，
你答应我啊，咱们这房子啊，不能烧了啊。然后汉房这儿到这儿，绝对不能够盖。我给你想办法，就我帮你想想咱们怎么做能做得更好。但这个房子不能够随便动的啊。来，你跟我说好。
我同意你们。
来，你跟我说好。你跟我说，
我不拆，
你不拆啊？
我不拆
啊！
我可能在那个下边的几年里会经常来，大家要有什么建议呢？就希望大家跟我说真话，说实话，我们才能做好。好，那就谢谢大家，谢谢大家哈，谢谢大家。
他给你握个手，哎，那个苹果，他给你先握个手。
谢谢，老头子谢谢了，会。老头子
你回来，老弟回来。
谢谢。
年前把的警察局里头做上台个，俺们那做对象的都是去真的，马祖人没登记，日大，没通过，日大的没家没通过家宝，那这几个想把那个新康长的几个人这个，那这上把去给你钱包做起的，那这人啊，哎。
我觉得一切心所念就是眼所现。当你有非常非常纯净、非常美好的心愿的时候，你所看到的世界，你所看到的神山，也是美好，还有充满希望的。
Here, time is not a concern. On this land, the days and years pass slowly. The skies are high, and the land is vast. If people here need something, they will find it easily. They lack for nothing. They have the time to focus on what's important to them, a detail, a hope, a person, or a path. They are simple people. They devote themselves, their wisdom, and all they own to Shambhala. Here, they are free. From the heart of Shambhala, they are greeting you.